So the corporate income tax at 21% is lower than it's ever been in my lifetime. Corporate taxes accounted for 1/3 of all the federal government's income during the Eisenhower, Kennedy, Nixon, Johnson administrations, for example. The top tax rate is lower than it's been for, a good chunk of my lifetime. And Joe Biden is talking about raising taxes on people who earn over $400,000 a year and using that money to reduce poverty in America. And this is, of course, producing quite a bit of hysteria on the right. On the line with us, representing that hysteria, I suspect, and we'll see, is Larry Klayman, who's been a guest on this program many times over the years, a lawyer, the chairman of Freedom Watch, the former chairman of Judicial Watch, the author. He has a new book out. It's called It Takes a Revolution, Forget the Scandal Industry. The website is freedomwatchusa.org, and you can tweet him at Larry E. Klayman, Klayman, or at Freedom Watch USA. Larry, welcome back to the program. It's been a long time since we've spoken. I hope all is well with you. And tell me why do you want American families to continue to live in poverty in the richest country in the world?
Well, I don't, Tom. You know that. And, years ago when I was in Washington, young lawyer, I remember a bumper sticker that said, "Vote Democrat, it's easier than working." Okay, I listened to your monologue there, and, you tried to be even-handed. But in many ways, what you failed to point out is that hard work can get you ahead in this country, whether you're white, black, green, yellow, or blue. And that's what it's about. Now, I don't disagree with you.
That's not what it's about.
There are greedy
Larry,
people
there are people. No, hang on just a second, Larry. You can't just drop that and then move on. There are people in America, more than half of Americans, who are working a 40-hour week and living below the poverty level. How is that right?
I don't know about your statistic to begin with, but they certainly can pull themselves up by their bootstraps. They can get education.
They're working a 40-hour week. You have people who are working 70-hour weeks.
Well, what's the alternative, Tom? I respect you. I know you respect me. Last time I appeared with you, I accidentally appeared on RT television. I didn't know it was Russian-owned and run by Putin, essentially.
Yeah.
Okay,
I haven't been there for years.
You're not in favor of a Soviet Gulag-style state here, where this.
No, but what I am saying, Larry, is that we should be able to establish a minimum standard of living. We are the only developed country in the world where literally anybody goes bankrupt because they got sick, and 500,000 Americans a year go bankrupt because they get sick. We are the only country in the world where you can end up $100,000 in debt just trying to go to college. We should be taxing wealthy people and using that money to provide a floor for working people.
Here's the problem. If the money passes through the government, it'll be misused, it'll be squandered, it'll be stolen. They tried that in the Soviet Union. Money never got to the people. The apparatchiks lived high on the hog, and the people got crumbs. Under Marxism, Larry, which has failed, that's what's happened.
Stop. You could set aside the whole straw man argument, the whole red herring thing here. I am not advocating Soviet-style Marxism or any kind of Marxism. What I am telling you is that there are 34 countries that make up the Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development, the OECD, the 34 richest countries in the world. The poorest of them is Costa Rica. Of those 34 countries, we have the highest level of infant mortality of those 34 countries. We have the highest level of maternal deaths. We have the highest level of deep poverty. And we are the only one of those 34 countries that does not use tax dollars from wealthy people to provide health care and education as a right to all their citizens. How does that make us? I don't even know the question. Beyond to say, how can you possibly justify that?
Tom, in this country, if you want to go to college, you can get a loan very easily. In fact, it's never paid back. The government never seeks to get its money paid back. And in any event, Biden, who is now the tool of the socialists and communists, is going to relieve them of any liability on that score. So you can go to college here if you want to. number one. Number two, what I'm saying is the government is not the way to improve things. That's all. Things, yes, can always get better. That's for sure. They can get better. And, in my book, It Takes a Revolution, I hope you get a chance to read it. I'm sure you'll agree with a lot of it. What we have is a justice system that doesn't represent any people in this country. It's completely broken apart, particularly on the federal level. Jefferson predicted that we would reach a revolutionary state because federal judges are unelected, unaccountable to the people. So you can't resolve your differences in court anymore because they represent themselves. But the American people can rise up. And yes, I'm committed to making things better, but I'm not going to tear the country down. And I'm not saying you have this agenda, but many people on the left have the agenda of destroying this country, taking it over, and then turning it into a communist state. And
Larry, we've been trying this your way for 40 years.
My dead body, will that ever happen?
Yeah, mine too. I'm not a fan of communism. Come on, or at least the way that it was. Communism works in a kibbutz, right, with 100 people. But you can't do it at the level of a nation state. It's never been successful. But that said, I'm not promoting the Soviet Union, or for that matter, communist capitalism, like communist China is practicing. But again, you're throwing out red herrings here, Larry. You have had, and by you, I'm talking about the Republican Party, conservatives in general, people, that you would consider yourself part of that tribe. You guys have had 40 years.
Republican, Tom. The Republican Party is dead.
Let's say conservative. No. Okay, I can't disagree with you on that, Larry. But, conservatives have had 40 years. The Reagan Revolution was all about ending the era of big government. Bill Clinton even proclaimed the era of big government was over. Now, you and I both have some concerns about judicial review and about some of the ways that our government has run. And I still remember well when you busted Dick Cheney for trying to sell the oil in Iraq, even before the war was started. I mean, that was just a crime. And there are times when things are really, really wrong with government. But you're saying that if we're not going to do what 33 other OECD countries do and say, okay, we're going to collectively make sure through the instrument of government, which is us, these are all democracies, that is us, that everybody has access to health care and education without having to go into debt. If we're not going to do that, the Reagan answer was, and in fact, Reagan passed this law in 1986, I think it was, that if you show up at an emergency room in a hospital, they have to take you in. Prior to that, they didn't have to take you in. That was the big conservative solution to the problem of medical services. And you're saying, and if you want to go to college, just go into debt. I don't see that working, Larry. I see, $1.5 trillion worth of student debt and 500,000 people a year having their families utterly destroyed by bankruptcy because somebody got sick. Larry, we have a minute until we're going to hit a hard break.
No. Look, your objective is a noble one, Tom, but I'm saying the government's not the vehicle. Reagan also used to say... Well,
tell me how it's worked in any other country in the world, the way that you're talking about.
Reagan also used to say the scariest words in the English language are, hi, I'm here from the government and here to help you. Government can't do it. I've worked in government. I've worked in the Justice Department.
Are you trying to turn us into Somalia? Are you trying to turn us into...
come into work, they read a newspaper, or at least now the Internet, and eat a donut for the first 2 hours. They're fat and happy.
So,
frankly, they're
Larry,
incompetent.
please identify a country that is your role model.
There is no one yet, but there are some that are better than others. Okay?
So what you're proposing has never successfully worked anywhere in the world.
Without regard to our justice system, which is one of the worst in the world, this country is better than other countries, generally speaking.
Well, I think the citizens of most countries think that of their countries. But okay, Larry Klayman, he's got a new book out. It Takes a Revolution. Forget the scandal industry. FreedomWatchUSA.org is the website. You can tweet him at Larry E. Klayman and Freedom Watch USA. Larry, thanks for dropping by. It's always good talking to you.
God bless you. Bye.